Good morning and welcome to another episode of Ride with Roy, and it's a bit different today because we're doing a review. Now, as you know, I'll only review things that are new and innovative, and I think this product really does fit that description. So what we're going to do today is talk about an electric conversion kit, and we're going to fit it to the bike of Mary Contrary. Now, Mary Contrary is a cyclist that she can ride her bike fine on its own, no power, but there are days when she finds she could do with power, and I'll get Mary to explain why she thinks she needs this type of kit. Now, I could have fitted this kit to my own bike and tested it, but I want it to be objective. I want it to be from the point of view of somebody that really could use the kit and need the kit. Before we start, I want to make it clear that this is not being given to us by Boost Bike. If Mary wants to keep it, she'll have to pay for it like anybody else. The only thing is she's going to get the fitting for free. If she doesn't like it for any reason or doesn't want to buy it just yet, we can send the kit back. So this is a totally unbiased review. We'll show it how it is. We're going to fit it how it is. So you can take this at face value, hopefully. I was introduced to this kit by Malk Turner, who's one of our regular contributors. Malk is a bike mechanic and he's fitted several of these now, and he was so pleased that he came to me and said you really should look at this kit for a review. A lot of the techniques I'll employ today are at the suggestion of Malk, so thank you Malk for your help on that. If you don't want to fit the kit yourself, there are plenty of people around the country that can fit it for you, registered installers. Malk is one of them, so if you're up in the northwest and you want to fit one of these or have him fit one of these, then I can happily give you his contact details. So let's have a chat with Mary and find out why she thinks she needs this kit. From your point of view, Mary, you've been cycling for a long time.
I've been cycling my whole life. I can't drive.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and the reason you can't drive is because of your epilepsy.
Yep,
we should explain that you've had your implant now.
Yeah.
And you've explained that every now and again when it kicks in, you go very husky.
I do. I start talking like that.
Yeah, if you think Mary's talking like a London gangster, you'll know it's because
I can't help it.
It's because her system's kicked in.
Yeah.
So Mary, you've had various bikes over the time. You're very famous for riding your
I don't know about famous.
three-wheeled trike.
Yeah.
Well, probably infamous.
Yeah.
But now you're riding a very nice Spa Cycles Audax.
Yeah, it's
you get on very well with it. Why do you think then you need some electrical assistance?
Two reasons really. Social reasons. All my friends are endurance riders or, leisure riders that can do 50, 60 miles.
Yeah.
I want to go out with them, but I don't want to feel as though I'm holding them back. I mean, I know they don't mind, but I mind.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, there's sort of almost a pressure, although there isn't. So I want to keep up with them, I want to go out, I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And the second, because I use my bike as transport, if I'm carrying my shopping, my groceries, then getting it up the hill, I live on a hill, and when it's kicking in again.
Don't we all?
I struggle with getting it up the hill.
Yeah.
And I just want assistance so I can go shopping.
Yeah. But you don't want anything that's too e-bike centric.
No.
No.
I love my bike. I love going out. I love the fact that I can just get on it, do sort of 20 miles or,
It's doing it, yeah.
So I'll go and see my mum.
Yeah.
She lives in a local village. It's 10 miles. I can just pop on it. And I love the freedom that it gives me.
Yeah.
I just like that feeling. I like them both. I need both, basically.
All right. So I think the first thing we'll do is have a look at this kit from Boost Bike. We'll do some
quite
unboxing.
excited.
I think you're going to be quite surprised when you open the box.
Okay.
So let's have a look at the box.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Christmas, isn't it?
It is. I've been looking forward to this. What have we got in here? A little box. What is that?
Okay, so that's the handlebar
It's like almost a computer.
It's a display, yeah.
Okay, so it's got 2 little buttons.
Yeah.
These are the leads.
Yeah, that's the charger lead.
The charger
and you've
lead.
just got there the keys, and they're so that you can lock the battery into the holder for security.
Oh, that's good. So it doesn't go AWOL.
Yeah.
And here,
That's the charger.
Oh wow. So this is what you plug in when you want to recharge
That's
it.
recharging your battery.
Quite
Straightforward.
heavy, actually.
And this is the last item.
This is the main event, I presume.
Yeah.
Looks like my normal water bottle. Oh wow. Oh, and it comes with a cage.
Yeah, now the interesting thing is the actual controller is in the cage. So there's no installing of extra controllers or anything, it's all in the bottom of that cage. And
That looks pretty easy.
And if you want to take it out, then just unlock it with the key.
Oh right, so it doesn't just slide out?
No, exactly. So if you hit a bump or whatever, it's not going to jump out.
Or if I go into a cafe? Ah, that's the battery life. That's good.
Yes, now the interesting thing with this system is that it's essentially automatic. If you don't override the controls at all, it will actually operate on its own.
Okay.
So you don't need any extra displays or anything. Now you have got the display, which is an extra, but you don't need that. The bike will actually operate without any controls.
Okay.
It's so simple. If you lift the flap on the top, okay, so that's a water-resistant flap. There's a switch on.
Oh.
Makes a little tube. Now, if you press and hold that blue button, you'll see you've actually got a full charge.
Okay.
If you're riding the bike without any external controller, you can actually see what the battery state is from that. But you've actually got an external controller, so you'll be able to see anyway. Or you can use the Boost Bike app.
What's this?
That's the lock. Try it. Put your key in. There you go. And there's the battery unlocked.
Take it out.
Now the beauty of that is you can take that battery indoors. So where you have problems charging an e-bike battery in freezing conditions, you won't have that problem because you can take that battery inside.
Yeah, because I keep my bikes. I've got a brick shed.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay. So let's now have a look at the main event. Cool. So this is the main part of the system, and that's obviously the drive wheel. Now, this bike has a rear drive wheel, whereas many of the others will go for a front drive wheel. And the reason for going for a front drive wheel is often cost. It's cheaper because you don't have to worry about having the cassette. Now, if you have a front drive wheel, then you've got to have a separate sensor that fits onto the main crank.
All right, okay.
With this, the sensor is actually in this cassette. So there's really no need to have any extra sensors. They're all built in. So it's cost Boost Bike a bit more to have a rear wheel drive. Personally, I prefer rear wheel drive because that's where all your weight is on the rear wheel.
Yeah, definitely.
Front wheel drive can have some benefits, but the other disadvantage...
It's easier to take off and on, but...
It's much easier to take off in the event of a puncture. However, there's quite a bit of weight in a drive motor, and if you think about front forks on a standard bike, they are just designed to take a standard wheel. So you're putting a lot of stress on, say, a carbon fork, for example. Yeah. So my preference is always for a rear drive, but of course it is much cheaper to produce a front drive, and it's easier to change punches. Now, one of the things you'll note here is that where your bike is a quick release, this now is bolted. Okay. Now, this isn't a through axle system, although they are developing a through axle system. I think it's just about to be launched. But this is a bolted system, and that's an 18mm bolt. They're British made wheels.
Oh, that's good.
And as you've noted, Mary, there are a lot more spokes than you've currently got.
I mean, I've got a Audax bike, so it has, you know, they're pretty strong wheels anyway. But this...
Yeah, they've taken into account the weight of the motor, so it's well thought through.
Definitely.
So we have our book of instructions, Mary. What we're going to do is have you fit the kit.
Oh, God.
And see how easy it is to do.
Okay, well, if I can do it, anyone can.
So the first thing to do is remove the rear wheel. Now, Mark Turner has suggested that turning the bike upside down makes it a lot easier to fit their wheel.
I think that's loose enough.
Now, I take it you've checked your chain, Mary, to make sure you don't need new chain, not stretched.
No. Help. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Now, Mary has rim brakes, which is what we've specified here, but they'll also offer a disc brake version, and that's a 6-bolt, not a centre lock.
Right, so it's all okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dory.
Push down.
And push down. Just push.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. That's amazing. I can't believe that. Just from this.
Yeah.
My God, I'm going to have to get one of these. What's it called? Tyre Glider.
Tyre Glider. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And you noticed that your tube was still showing a little bit, but that pushed it in without it.
Yeah, because I was a bit worried that it was a bit like, ooh, it's going to pinch the tube.
Didn't at all.
And it's all sorted out. Wow.
Good. We've now popped this rear wheel and motor into the frame. You can see it's dropped into the dropouts here. And what we have to make sure of is that the frame isn't interfering with this motor lead, so we're well clear on that. So we have a washer with a lug that Mary's going to refit now, and the lug fits into the space in the frame like that. That's it. Another nice washer.
Yep.
And then the 18mm nut. Now bear in mind this 18mm nut will need to come off if you have a puncture on the road.
Okay.
So you need to carry either a spanner or a socket to fit that in the kit.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And the beauty of this system being supplied with a cassette, it's the same cassette that you've been using, so therefore there's no indexing needed. So we've adjusted the brakes slightly to account for the new wheel, and Mary is now just taking off her rear bottle carrier. Okay, so Mary is now just tightening up the remaining bolts on the battery mount.
Yep, that's not going to slip.
Yeah.
Steady.
We've got the battery mount on. I have to say this was the most fiddly part so far, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The reason being that the derailleur clamp is interfering with the battery mount, so we've just had to put some spacers in just to move it away slightly, and that will be no problem at all. So the next job, Mary, go and get the battery and slot that in. So if you look, you're going to have your little
So they have to match.
light up scale at the front.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if there's no room to put it in at the top, bear in mind you can just push it into the mount from the front.
Ah,
Okay.
and I didn't have my glasses.
And it made a little beeping noise.
Yeah.
So now you can lock it back in.
Like that.
Job done.
Ooh.
Nice and secure.
Yep.
So now we need to connect the cable. You're going to see we have some excess cable to get rid of, which we'll do in a moment. But while we're in this position, we'll just show you that if you can see there is an arrow on the female part. Now on the male, there's also an arrow, and they've got to match up. Boost Bike have a really good users forum, and I noticed on there that somebody had suggested that those arrows be painted with a blob of light coloured paint or whatever, so that if you're having to do this in the dark you can easily see where those arrows are, because if you get it wrong and you force it, you're going to do some damage. So Mary, if you want to just try and locate those two. She's never done this before. job done.
Yep, that's pretty much
You have connection. Right.
Just a sip, I use nail varnish to...
Perfect. Yeah. Well, that's not something I have, so... okay, so if you unplug it again, we'll now get rid of that excess cable. Yeah, fairly tight, because that has to be waterproof.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, because this system is one size fits all, the motor cable is longer than it needs to be, so you have to get rid of the excess somewhere. Now, what we've done is just wrapped it around the frame here. It was slightly difficult to find other places to put it because Mary has external cables on this, but as you'll see, it's in no way hampered by the crank. If you want to just turn the crank, Mary. Yeah. It's totally missing the crank. We've popped a cable tie on the cable that's coming from the motor to keep that secure. And as you can see, the plug is nicely out of the way. It's not going to catch on the wheel in any way. So we've now fitted the basic system, Mary. So if you'd like to lift up that flap on the battery. And we'll just show everybody what we've got here. We've got an on-off switch, and then the round slot next to it is for charging. And as you see, there's a USB point there, and that's useful because you can use this as a power bank to charge your phone or whatever. So, Mary, just run the bike now with it off. Okay, brake. Now switch the battery on and let's see what happens. We'll have a little bit of a beep. Wow, and there's the motor.
I can actually feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it kicking in. That was immediate as well, there was no lag.
There was nothing we had to do there. So all we've had to do to fit this kit is to take the back wheel out, remove the tyre, replace the tyre onto the new wheel, fit that into position, which wasn't difficult. And as you can see, Mary still has her carrier on the back and still has her mud guards on. It's not interfered with those at all. There was no need to fit any sensors because they're already fitted into the cassette. Then it was a case of fitting the battery, and as we've said, we had a slight problem with that derailleur clamp, but we got round that by putting some spacers in, and it was a case of switching on and away we go. Now, this battery is water resistant, but it's certainly not rated waterproof. You can see that the lid seals nicely. It's a rubberized lid, so there's no real problem with that. But obviously you don't want to get this thing soaking wet, especially when you're washing the bike. But Boost Bike have now bought out a cover. It costs about £15, and I'd certainly recommend that for if you're riding or caught out in wet weather. Right, so what we've got now is Mary just riding the bike as normal because we want to make sure nothing's changed in the setup. We've also raised her bar up a bit because she was getting a bit of pain, so we've made it a bit more of a relaxed riding position. We've adjusted the brakes. Okay.
Perfect.
So now turn your power on. Lift up your little flap, turn it on.
It's very simple.
You've got a nice little tune. You put your rubberised cap back on.
Oh my God! That should be one of the cars. It's very intuitive.
Now this system is automatic. You don't have to do anything. It will switch on straight away. And it's going to give you an eco boost. I think it's 4 miles an hour to 8 miles an hour. I need to check my notes. Then it will give you a midway boost between 8 and 12. And then it will give you the super boost between 12 and 15.5 miles an hour, which is the UK limit. There was a guided ride on Saturday, Grant's running it, and Mary was unsure about whether to come. She felt she couldn't make the distance. Now, if she couldn't, one of us would have ridden back with her. But now we've fitted this kit, maybe she's had a change of heart. How do you feel about Saturday now, Mary?
Yeah, I know I can do 30, 40, but it was just that bit extra that I was worried about. So I think what I'll do, because I've got a choice now, I can do 30 and just switch it on.
Yeah. Switch it on and off when you want it.
Yeah, I can switch it on just for that extra bit if I get really tired.
Because you've got the controller, you can override the system and then just have it on eco for the whole ride. And it would be interesting, actually, for the purpose of making a follow-up video on range, is for you to run it on eco all the time and just see how far you can go, if you're happy with that.
Yep, I can do that, no problem.
And if it doesn't make the distance, at least you can still pedal back.
That'd be a good test, a very good test, actually.
Sure. Good, all right, Mary. So I'll see you on Saturday.
See you then. Look
Cheers.
forward to it. Bye.
That fitting went really well. I must admit I was expecting problems, but didn't come up with any. I did something quite unusual for me, and that's read the instructions a few times. Frankly, it was just a doddle to do. If you've got basic bike maintenance skills, I don't think you'd have a problem. I sent Mary away to give the bike a try, settle down with it. And I'm just arriving here today in Wyndham Park, which means one thing, and that's a guided ride. Now, as you heard Mary say, she wasn't planning to come on the guided ride, but now she has this motor assist, she is going to come along. And I'm going to bring that to you in part 2, where we're going to have a look at range. We'll take a look at Boost Bike as a company, what sort of support they give, and discuss how it compares with some of the competition. So if you want to see that video, then please subscribe, it's totally free. And also hit that bell button and you'll be informed when that video comes up. And finally, if you value this sort of content, then it would be great if you'd give this video a like. It just gets it out to more people. So thanks for watching today, and I hope you'll join us for part 2.